Before I tell you why I personally find teachings of Aajonus way more valuable than teachings of Jack Kruse, I want to address something. I made a YouTube video about Jack Kruse and him being wrong about the diet not influencing your facial development. I made a clear case that your diet will change your facial development, which he flat out denies in some of his recent interviews. And I've got some responses from quantum biologists, and I would like to address these responses first. So, first, I talked about the Pottanger's cats. Like, you change the diet of the cats, and the diet completely destroys the cats or keeps them healthy, even though all of the cats have the completely same light environment. Changing nothing but the diet alone will completely alter the cats, like if they survive or degenerate, or if they whatever. The argument was, which I received from the quantum biologist, is that you cannot compare cats to humans. You know, what is interesting is that literally almost any study from Jack Kruse about the blue light, like when Jack Kruse talks about the blue light being bad for you, almost every time he talks about studies done in mice. So either you say, okay, diet affects cats, maybe it can affect humans as well. Or whenever Jack Kruse talks about mice being affected by blue light, instead of eating it up with everything, you tell Jack Kruse as well, look, I told this primal dieter that you cannot compare cats with humans. So you shouldn't compare mice with humans, okay? Bruh. But no, you will eat up the studies about blue light with mice, but with cats who are more similar to us than mice. No, that's just too distant. But mice, yeah, completely fine. But no, yeah, there are studies, I'm not denying that the blue light is bad. It is. I have blue blockers and I have a scheduled video about blue light being bad. However, yeah, there are studies on people as well about the blue light. You can say, yeah, it's not just the mice. There are studies about humans as well. So Jack Kruse isn't only about the mice. Well, there are case studies on diet working on humans as well. Literally, look at the fucking agricultural revolution where people were grounded 24/7 and outside 24/7, and their skulls completely degenerated only because they ate less animal foods and more grains. Or again, the argument which I used in my last video, look at the Kikuyu tribe versus the Maasai tribe. These African tribes lived in the completely same environment, grounded 24/7 in tropical sunlight, and Maasai who were eating a lot of raw meat, raw blood and stuff, were infinitely superior in their physical development compared to the tribes which are the same light environment but ate agriculturally based. So yeah, you can compare cats to humans if what you see with the cats completely mirrors what you see with the humans when you change their diets. The same way you can compare mice to humans if the same biological systems affected by blue light are present in humans as well as in mice. I don't deny that, but don't tell me you cannot compare cats to humans if the findings in cats literally mirror the findings in humans. And then you completely are okay with Jack Kruse talking about studies with mice, which you don't care about. That's double meter. Then, it's people say that of course Jack Kruse talks about diet a lot. Like he says the diet is it's not as important as light environment. But he talks about diet, about eating locally, low deuterium and whatever. Yeah, I don't deny it. Jack Kruse talks about diet to some extent, but the video was about Jack Kruse literally flat out denying PSL got mindset in his interview when he said that food leads to structure of your face. PSL got mindset said, look, if you eat shit food, your face will degenerate. and Jack Kruse flat out denied that. And I was addressing that in my video. And I hope I have proved it, because you can completely fix your facial structure with your diet while being completely ignorant of light environment. Diet is incredibly important in your facial structure. Now, with that out of the way, with these things addressed surrounding the arguments from the last video, let's I should have more time in preparing my script. Or no, I should have less time preparing my script. I should make less points. Holy fuck. Yeah, I will just repeat myself. So there are studies showing that if you put mice in artificial lighting versus natural lighting, then the mice with artificial lighting will have more diseases and will die more often. And I've seen people mention these studies from the quantum biologists. Again, studies about light affecting animals. Why would you accept these studies but then completely ignore studies on cats and diet when cats are more similar to us than mice? But I'm just repeating myself. Yeah, then you can tell me there are studies of limiting blue light helping against certain things in humans. Yeah, and there are studies about changing diet in humans to like ketogenic diet and it helping with their insulin resistance as well, or removing fiber from their diet and it helping as well. Yeah, sure, blue light can help and there are studies on it, whatever, but there literally are studies showing that you can also fix someone's health with diet, which is like common sense. Whatever, but now let's get to the point of why I personally think that if you know of Aajonus and follow Aajonus, then you are going to end up healthier and better off than if you know and follow Kruse. Now, this can be personal. You can be someone who comes from a background of watching TV all day and working an office job and never seeing the sunrise because you are, not the sunrise, never seeing the sun because you go to job before sunrise and you go home from job after sunset. You can be someone who is completely fucked up from EMFs and blue light, who has a good diet. And maybe, personally for you, the teachings of Kruse will be way more useful than teachings of Aajonus. It's personal. I don't doubt that there are some people who will benefit more for focusing on the knowledge passed down by Kruse than on the knowledge passed down by Aajonus. But for most people and for myself personally, I believe that Aajonus is way more important, and I want to talk about why. Now, let's say that is not as important as getting sunlight, avoiding EMFs, and avoiding blue light. Now, I blocked blue light for years, even before I knew about Jack Kruse. But when I work on a farm, when it's sunny, and I work on a field for 10 hours a day, not for 10 hours a day, but basically for 12 hours a day I'm outside, shirtless, in shorts, even selling my balls most of the time, and with no shoes, grounded, sunlight, in the noon, that much sunlight, I consume only local foods, which are grown on the field or in my own country. And I do cold showers as well to get mitochondrial boost or something. I did this, and I ate food from the farm, which was a vegetarian farm. I ate grains, potatoes, local fruits, stuff like that. I basically ate grains. I had acne, and I had bloating, and I had gas, and digestive issues. I was avoiding blue light, and I was sleeping in place with no EMFs, and the place was very cold as well. So, I was grounded in sunlight all the time, no blue light, always blue blocking glasses, but barely any screen time at night, cold showers. I did everything I should be able to do from a quantum biology perspective. But having a bad diet gave me acne and digestive issues. Well, otherwise, when I live in a house, when it's winter and I don't get sunlight, and I do no cold exposure, and I have way more EMF than I did on that farm, and I'm not grounded because I'm not grounding when it's cold, and I'm I'm in EMFs, and yeah, I still wear blue blockers, but I still stare into a screen after sunset for a long time because sun sets at like 4, and I am awake staring at my phone until like, let's say, 9. Yeah, I basically don't do anything which a Jack Kruse follower would want, which Jack Kruse would want me to do. I do no quantum biology nonsense. But when my diet is on point, when I only eat raw meat, raw milk, fermented raw milk, and raw fat, then I don't get digestive issues. I sometimes still get acne if I eat too often times in a day and it raises my insulin or something, or I eat sugar or something. But when my diet is on point, when I watch my diet, then even though I do absolutely nothing from Jack Kruse perspective, I only focus on my diet, then my digestion and skin is better. Now, I have to admit that I'm someone who gets acne from sugar, like from fruit and from honey and even raw milk, like lactose, if it's not fermented, in winter. Because it's very true that sunlight is extremely healthy and it will help you remove your acne. So in summer, I drink fresh raw milk, I eat honey, I consume raw fruit and all of that, and I don't have acne. But in winter, without the excessive sunlight, which lowers your blood sugar, which is I agree, it's true, it does happen, then I get acne in winter. So I get acne even in summer. I get acne if I eat too much sugar or if I eat grains or something. But I must admit, when I was in the Canary Islands, then there's a lot of sunlight, right? In Canary Islands, I could eat as much fruit as I wanted, and I never had acne from it because the excessive sunlight. So yeah, I agree. If you move to the tropics, then it will help you. Though I still had digestive issues if I had something wrong, even though I didn't have acne. But yeah, I agree that tropical sunlight, strong sunlight, high UV environment is extremely healthy for you and can help you with a lot of things like digestive issues and skin and whatever. However, if you can't move to the tropics and you live in Europe, then changing your diet will do way more than getting more. I don't actually want to separate it. I don't say prioritize your diet over your light environment because I always wear blue blockers and I always try to get as tan as I can. But if I do all of my light environment correct and my diet is shit, then I suffer. If my diet is correct and my light environment is shit, then I still suffer, but kind of less than when my diet is shit. What I'm trying to say here is that, yeah, moving to the tropics can be extremely useful, but besides that, seeing the sunrise, for example, is not nearly as important as drinking raw milk. Jack Kruse likes to say that seeing the sunrise every day is the most important health practice ever. I would argue that drinking raw milk is infinitely times more important and healthy than seeing the sunrise. Yeah, I forgot this. In the past, I did a fuck ton of cold exposure. I did for years straight, I did only cold showers. And I remember I literally only had a warm shower like 5 times during a year. The rest of the year, I only had cold showers, even in winter. And I didn't just have cold shower, like get into cold water. I would wash myself with shampoo. I would get myself wet, then get shampoo all over myself. And then I would thoroughly wash myself with the cold water all over my body. And I even remember we literally couldn't have cold water in our flat because it was broken or something. So in the bathtub. So what I did is I took this container, I put it into the where you wash your hands, and I got cold water there, and I was slowly pouring the cold water from the container over myself instead of just using the shower handle to use warm water. So I was very, very locked in on doing cold exposure, and every day I will be walking outside shirtless in the winter. I would literally be running in the forest shirtless in the winter when it was minus something in it. That's a lot of cold exposure, which according to Jack Kruse should make you create quite a lot of UV light. Yet, during that time, my digestion was terrible, I still had diarrhea, and I was completely depressed. Like, there was no sunlight, but the cold exposure should make you create UV light and make you produce dopamine or whatever. But I was completely depressed despite doing all of this cold exposure. I actually did the cold exposure because I was depressed, because it gave me adrenaline rush and dopamine rush, and it felt great. The dopamine and adrenaline, it made me feel good. So I used it like a drug. I tried to hide the feeling of depression behind the adrenaline rush of doing cold showers, and cold exposure outside, and even ice baths. I would bathe in our pool, which had like ice in it in winter. I completely abused cold exposure, and it didn't improve my health. Yeah, and at the same time, I was lifting, I was exercising in the garage, I was bodybuilding, and for months of doing cold exposure and training, I had no gains. I gained almost no muscle, no strength, no anything. Now, when I started to eat raw meat, I gained so much muscle. I gained literally like 20 pounds of muscle in a year. I have a YouTube video, it's like the first YouTube video on my channel, on how to gain a lot of muscle on the primal diet or something. And I've gained like 20 pounds of weight, and most of it muscle, with eating raw primal diet. And before, I was doing so much cold exposure. Okay, I wasn't avoiding blue light, but I was getting sunlight as well. I was doing things which Jack Kruse would say, like cold exposure is way more important for your mitochondria and everything than your diet. So Jack Kruse will always tell you to do cold exposure before telling you to change your diet. Yet, doing the insane amount of cold exposure made me not grow any muscle. Yet changing my diet to raw animal foods made me gain a fuck ton of fat. And before, I actually ate a lot of dairy, a lot of meat, a lot of eggs and everything. And I was in caloric surplus before, mostly. I drank a lot of pasteurized milk, a real lot of pasteurized milk. So, it wasn't that I just started to eat protein and more food, it was literally because of the raw meat. So, you could say that, okay, but having big muscles is not healthy because training is stressful and whatever. It's not beneficial to have a lot of muscles, so it doesn't matter that primal diet makes you grow more muscles. That doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy. Look, I was doing the same amount of training, the same stress, I was exposing my body to stress by lifting weights. And when doing cold exposure, it didn't help one bit in adapting to the stress, in letting my tissues heal in order to become stronger and more adapted to the stress. Yet, eating raw foods made my tissues heal better from the stress and made it easier for them to adapt to the stress. Eating raw foods made my tissues adapt more to stresses to which I was putting it to. And I would boldly assume that if your body is better at adapting to a certain stress and is more effective at recovering from that stress, then it's probably healthier than when it's not having that. Now again, yeah, cold exposure didn't fix my digestion one bit. Now, sunlight, yeah, I would say that sunlight makes my digestion somewhat better, but if I eat a shit diet, then not even sunlight can fix my digestion. Someone is shouting at someone. Yeah, then I agree that sleep is incredibly important and that avoiding blue light will do more for your sleep than anything on the primal diet. But I would like to mention there's this testimony of this guy who met Aajonus and he talked about his suffering from insomnia. And one time he will just eat raw meat at night after sunset in artificial lighting, And just from eating raw meat once, his insomnia was gone. Like, he couldn't sleep, he ate raw meat, and that night he had no insomnia just because he had raw food in himself. I would say it's just significant. Like, nutrition and eating well will surely influence how you sleep. Although I agree that people should focus more on avoiding blue light than most of people who are into raw meat do. So yeah, if you can move to the tropics, like Jack Kruse advises you to, then I believe you can experience a lot of benefits. Your mood will be better, your libido will be better, your digestion will likely be better because of the UV light. You will have better skin and everything. But if you live in Europe, then okay, in the summer you can sort of replicate the benefits of being in the tropics, sort of. Even though a shit diet can make your life shit even in summer. But outside of summer, no matter of how much sunrises you see, how much blue light you avoid, or how much cold showers you do, you will likely not get as much benefits from it that will compare to like drinking raw milk. Like, if you can't move to the tropics, then drinking raw milk and eating raw primal will always do way more results for your body and for your health than doing cold showers and seeing the sunrise. Drinking raw milk infinitely times more important than seeing the sunrise, for real. And actually, which is funny, Aajonus himself talked to his people and said to them that they should move to the tropics because it's healthier. Aajonus himself claimed that moving to a warmer tropical climate is healthier. So moving to the tropics is not something Jack Kruse invented. Aajonus was talking about it before Jack Kruse. And I know I'm saying that he patented it and that like, oh, Jack Kruse people should bow to Aajonus because he was first. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, yeah, there is value of moving to the tropics, but you can stumble on the importance of moving to the tropics even if you study Aajonus and never look into Jack Kruse as well. You can also stumble into blue light as like I wore blue blocking glasses as long as I ate raw meat. And I always got tan and into the sun before I ever knew of Jack Kruse. Like, there is no single primal dieter who wears sunscreen, and every single primal dieter tries to get as tan as he can. Like, even Aajonus talked about blue light. Literally, like, he mentioned fluorescent lights being bad for you because of the lack of full spectrum in the lights. And second, he literally, when he was asked about what can we do if we cannot get any sunlight at all, how can we supplement vitamin D? He said, take a gun and shoot yourself, jokingly. He said that we do need sunlight and that sunlight isn't harmful for us. And every single, he even talked about sunlight being good like multiple times. Like every single primal dieter knows that sunlight is good, that living in warmer tropical climate is better and healthier. Yeah, the only thing primal dieters don't know usually is the blue light, which is a shame, and I want to change it. Because avoiding blue light is as important as avoiding fluoride, because fluoride makes you have less vivid dreams because it suppresses your melatonin, because it fucks up your pineal gland which produces melatonin. But at the same time, blue light fucks up your melatonin and your pineal gland, and it makes you have less vivid dreams. Like blue light literally does the same it does the same thing what fluoride does to you by affecting the same systems in your body. That's disgusting, man. But honestly, drinking raw milk might be more important than avoiding blue light. Maybe, I don't know, it depends. If you stare into a screen 1 hour a day and not wear blue blockers, then that's fine, I guess. But if you are living inside in LED lighting all the time, then maybe in that case it will be more beneficial to block blue light. It depends. But yeah, raw foods are more effective and more important in my opinion than focusing on your light environment, unless you live in the tropics. And there are very interesting things which Aajonus talked about. Yeah, also, obviously EMFs. Aajonus talked about EMFs being harmful for you extensively, sometimes even before talking about the diet in his workshops. But what is interesting, what makes me think that teachings of Aajonus are more important than those of Kruse, are two things: cheese trains and hot baths. Hot baths is when you go into a bath which is like 39 to 42 degrees for several hours, and you like take cold showers in the between so you don't die from the heat. And you do it for weeks, for days, for months basically. And you sweat out toxicity which you accumulated in your life, and you sweat out crystallized seed oils in your lymphatic system and stuff like that. People who do it for months report having way more energy and sleeping way less hours than before they did this protocol, which is very significant. And besides this, I heard people say that, oh yeah, I used to work in this factory with this color or something, this coloring, like testimonials from people who knew Aajonus. I worked with this coloring, this chemical, and I had no mask on. After doing these hot baths, which is like 10 years after I had this job, I would break up into coughing and flu and whatever, and I would be coughing something which would literally smell like the chemical that I used to work with 10 years afterwards, and afterwards it disappeared. So, getting yourself this hot and sweating this much, you will sweat out a lot of toxic bullshit from yourself, and you will be literally able to get a detox of chemical with which you worked years ago. That's crazy. And I experienced this myself a few days ago. When I was young, I used to have, I don't know what it's called, maybe tonsillitis or something. I used to have this thing, when you swallow, then it hurts your throat because you have some sore spot there or something. I used to have it all of my life, like all the time when I was younger. Then on primal then after some years I stopped having it. And once, after a very long hot bath, I experienced it again. The thing which I had all my childhood, I couldn't swallow without pain. It resurfaced again in my neck. And I had it for a few days, then it went again, away. Like, do you think I just got sick in that hot water and randomly caught disease, like from germs again? Or do you think that something which I had all my childhood and then got suppressed into the background, that somehow the heat allowed my body to detox and re-experience the symptoms of this detoxification and make me detox more of this garbage? Like, yeah, I've heard people getting breakouts of having acne and stuff going through their skin when they do these kinds of hot baths, because you just get rid of so much stuff when you do this kind of hot baths. I have even heard of firefighters doing firefighters who breathe in a lot of heavy metals and the smoke and stuff like that. They do near-infrared saunas, which, unlike other saunas, penetrate deeper into your tissues or something. And they sweat, and they have white towels under them. When they do that, they literally can see these towels getting gray and black because of the metals which they can sweat out. You can see this on Reddit. Firefighters still do this. You can see black and gray, just metal color, on white towel under firefighters who do these kind of saunas. Because if near-infrared saunas do this, then hot baths make you release and get rid of all these metals as well. It's very potent. And no amount of sunlight, no amount of sunrise viewing or cold showers are going to make you detox the amount of toxicity that hot baths are going to make you detox. Hot baths are so important that anything which Jack Kruse talks about, I doubt anything will have as much as long-term effects. Okay, sunlight, yeah, but cold exposure, avoiding blue light, or seeing the sunrise, none of it is nearly as important or has as big of an effect as detoxing the decades of stored toxicity from your body by this method. Another method is cheese trains. Basically, you take raw unsalted cheese and you eat it every 15 minutes at at most. Like maybe you have longer intervals, like once an hour or something, or before every meal or something like that, which basically makes you draw heavy metals from receiving injections from your stomach and your intestines, and it will get like sponge, like chelated into the raw cheese, and then you will pass out the toxicity. And the more you do it, the more you clean your intestines from toxicity. And I know one guy called Ashton in my Telegram chat who had some, I don't know what it was, some health issues like no libido, complete low energy, terrible hormones, everything was destroyed. He tried cold showers, he tried high meat, he tried a raw diet, he tried everything, and his health was completely destroyed. No energy, no libido. He said he almost didn't go through puberty. He started to do these cheese trains which clean your intestines from poisons. And after he'd been doing them, like eating raw cheese, a teaspoon of raw cheese every 15 minutes, as often as he can remember. After he's been doing it for a long time, he says that he feels better than he ever did in his entire life. Now, like he has more energy and more everything because he can digest nutrients more fully because his intestines are less toxic and the bacteria can basically work with nutrients he puts in there through food. And again, iridology. You can supposedly see like toxic metals and garbage in your eyeballs, in your eyes. Well, if you do these kind of cheese trains and you eat a ton of cheese, raw unsalted cheese, very often, then supposedly you can see the toxicity being removed on your eyes by reading your iris and seeing it becoming clearer after doing cheese trains for a prolonged period of time. And I myself know that cheese trains work for a fact because when I have nausea, like a flu or something, and I eat raw unsalted cheese, then nausea is your body being full of toxins and wanting to vomit them out, so these toxins don't have to go through the digestive tract. And that can be both from you eating something toxic or your body releasing something toxic to your stomach. Your body doesn't want it to go further, so it wants to vomit it out. Well, when I'm nauseous and I eat raw unsalted cheese, the nausea goes away within a minute. If it returns, then again I add some raw cheese, and it again removes itself. It goes away. Raw unsalted cheese is such a game changer if you have a diarrhea or a flu or want to vomit. It will literally make you stop want to vomit because it will draw all the toxicity to itself. If it's, I could experience myself that the cheese train will absorb the toxicity in my stomach and make me not want to vomit anymore if I eat raw unsalted cheese. If this happens and I can experience it myself, then I believe it's likely it also happens that it draws toxins from your intestines as well and makes you healthier over time. As well as this Ashton guy who did this and it improved his life. Hot baths and cheese trains. These things have way more value than blocking blue light or seeing the sunrise or doing a cold shower. Now, I hate blue light, it harms you, and I don't want to train. I wouldn't say I would rather eat cheese trains than block blue light. No, but it's more important to know about cheese trains than blue light, honestly. Or maybe it depends, like how many injections you had. It's up there basically. It can be personal. For someone, blue light might be more of an issue than cheese trains and hot baths. I just want to say that with these things which Aajonus came up with, the teachings of Kruse just barely compare with the value of this, of knowledge about this. It doesn't look like it to you, but this is like the 8th video which I recorded. I record for like 4 hours straight, so I can like record for the whole December because I'm not going to be able to make videos in December. And my throat is so fucking dry. I'm going to, instead of having a cold shower, I'm going to drink raw milk because drinking raw milk is more important than cold exposure. So eat raw meat, drink raw milk, and grow your hair out. Also, wait. If you vibe with this kind of content, then I have a private community on school which is full of people like me and you might want to check it out. It's kind of interesting. It's the second link in the description. See you later.